into the story, feeling real emotions and reactions, even though we know it's just light and sound. This same process happens in our daily lives. Our brain takes in information through our senses and builds what we think is reality. But this reality isn't direct. It's processed, filtered, and shaped by our past experiences, beliefs, and expectations. Let me give you an example. When you look at a tree, you don't see the tree as it truly is. Your brain receives light patterns, processes them based on your learned concept of tree, and creates an image that makes sense to you. The actual tree might be very different from what you perceive. Our emotions work the same way. We don't experience pure feelings. We experience our interpretation of events filtered through our personal history. If someone doesn't wave back at us, we might feel hurt or angry based on our past experiences of rejection, when maybe they just didn't see us. This filtered reality serves a purpose. It helps us make quick decisions and respond to our environment, but it can also trap us in limiting patterns and false beliefs. We might avoid opportunities because of fears based on past experiences that no longer apply to our current situation. The illusion goes deeper than just our senses. Our sense of self, who we think we are, is part of this constructed reality too. We build stories about ourselves. I'm not good at math. I'm always unlucky in love. I can't handle stress. These stories feel true because we've repeated them so often, but they're just patterns in our minds. Social media adds another layer to this illusion. We see carefully curated versions of other people's lives and compare them to our unfiltered daily experience. This creates an even bigger gap between perceived and actual reality. Money is another powerful illusion we all participate in. Paper bills and digital numbers have value because we collectively agree they do. The entire global economy runs on this shared belief system. Time itself might be different from how we experience it. We perceive time as flowing from past to future in a straight line. But physics suggests this might not be how time actually works. Our experience of time passing is another construction of our minds. Breaking free from these illusions isn't about rejecting them completely. They're useful tools for functioning in society. Instead, it's about recognizing them for what they are, mental constructs rather than absolute truth. Think about how a dream feels real while you're in it. Only upon waking do you realize it wasn't reality. Similarly, becoming aware of our daily illusions can be like waking up to a broader truth. This awareness can be liberating. When we recognize that our limitations are often self-imposed through our mental constructs, we can start to question and change them. If our brain created these patterns, it can create new ones. But this recognition comes with responsibility. Once we see how our minds shape our reality, we become more conscious of our role in creating our experience. We can't blame everything on external circumstances anymore. The good news is that understanding the illusory nature of our experience gives us more control over it. Just as a movie loses its emotional grip once we remember it's just a movie.
I would stop here and then continue, because it's interesting to even fathom, or rather kind of battle with the idea of listen to me, battle. I meant wrestle with the idea of control, because depends from what angle we look at it. And it's interesting that actually this picture is symbolically stuck here, and we can interpret many of these impressions and even ask ourselves some more basic surface level questions like, is this AI generated or something? But despite that, what's interesting here is that when we saw this depiction, particular one with the bridge, is that it is like a collision of artistic approach, energetical one, physics even, along with the cutting edge frontier there, which is a quantum, which kind of seeps into from objective into the subjective, in a sense of in a sense of like theory into practice, and actually we can observe this quantum phenomenon, and it's not like only quarks and whatever constituents, which is even the wrong terminology that I'm currently using, but you know, the currents, the wavelengths, all of that, strings, what have you. The thing is, yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the video, it was roughly explained in depth about how that could possibly relate to our life, and that it's not some highly theoretical thing, but that actually it could actually kind of feed back into the way we perceive things. And for people who embarked on shamanistic journeys, they definitely, whether it is in more naturalistic setting with more like entheogenic plant teachers, or something semi natural, they're especially directed with human intent. It seems like it could have been a shock wave to a certain established order, but that order sometimes pushes things not in a cliche way into its opposite, as some coincidentia oppositorum or into disorder, but actually into sort of a hyper order, which leads to either fascism or like a possible inflated destruction, which is like going over the cliff, you know, in a sense of humanity's destiny, in a sense of collective ignorance. So yeah, I mean, well, there's many things to add, but maybe we should come back to the last point of this, and that is there's very many illusory aspects to perception, and probably some sort of contemplative attempt, at least, or practice could like untie some knots that were definitely placed there by a certain pattern, but I'm not sure if I would say for a certain reason. Yeah, certainly there is always can be explicated some possible reason why something is the case, but in a sense of like having some goal, even if it's more meaningless goal, as a way of preserving certain states. Like sometimes some habit forming tendencies are there to kind of make you at ease to a degree, because it helps you feel secure and not push the boundaries of your own limits or capabilities, but just be in a safe zone and just sort of survive, just make ends meet, means whatever, if that's the correct term. I forgot how it is pronounced, because I haven't been reading or actually speaking enough of recently with foreigners, so yeah, I need to get in touch more with linguistic intent. But let's come back to this, and we will like realign and resync with what was being like in a most basic sense shared, but revealed there, I suppose. Yeah, I know what I want to come back to, but let's chill a bit and then we'll come back to the previous point that I wanted to sort of cover, which had to do with the cover. Yeah, saying beliefs and expectations there, right? So, your magic, your energy.
Fears and anxieties lose some power when we see them as mental constructions.
What's going on with food?
This doesn't mean our experiences aren't real. They're very real to us in the moment. But knowing they're constructed by our minds gives us the option to construct them differently. Consider how different cultures see the world in vastly different ways. What's obvious to one group might be invisible to another. This shows how much our perception depends on what we've learned to perceive. Living in the illusion is like being in a play, where we're both the actor and the audience. We can get caught up in the drama, or we can step back and remember it's all a performance. Both perspectives have their place. The key is finding balance, using the illusion when it serves us while staying aware of its constructed nature. This awareness creates space for change and growth beyond the limitations of our current perceived reality. The moment of awakening hits each person differently. For some, it comes like a bolt of lightning, sudden and shocking. For others, it creeps in slowly, like the morning sun breaking through clouds.
Such a unreserved
But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think back to all the times you felt something wasn't.
Although I would add one interesting observation and thing, and that is that there is synchronicity at play. But in what sense? That you sync with temporary meaning, which is being conveyed, even though it is a bit of a transcendental, you know, inference of sorts. Okay, but the thing is, yeah, I think it doesn't find you when you're not ready. So there is that possibly destiny aspect to it, or rather even predestination of sorts, that it slowly builds up. And yeah, I suppose even if I were to put this video somewhere, even if somebody randomly stumbled upon it and I was not ready, he would probably just close it off. Something would just not be properly aligned with the alternativeness of the situation, with like utter chaotic randomness there. Because when you're in like a orderly, structured way of like going through life, you possibly need things to be sort of served for you in a proper package, branded and whatnot. And that is how you basically operate through the, I mean, from this philosophical standpoint, you can name it many different names, like say system. This is like the most, I don't know, squaring way to sort of contain it, but I mean there is more even sophisticated way to approach it, and to say that there are many different systems interacting with each other on a cellular level, in a sense of, but still, yet again, it is all energy, and how to bridge the gap between meaningful, or rather symbolic, mimetic, and actual, like organic and geo, like biosphere and geosphere. it seems like there is that triangle, even in some alchemistic sense, and it seems like we would definitely put a noosphere at the top, like throwing its tentacles on the bottom layer, which is this like cyborg going through Matrix, going through XYZ, holographic type of thing. So yeah, well, but it is like too even like reduced, although it helps sometimes to visualize those things and see where you are compared to it, and maybe some sub awakenings are lurking sometimes, so they go sort of get contextualized with particular flavor. But when you're like, even in my example, I talk now like from a certain human experience when you resist certain things and sort of postpone it, but there also seems like some things are inevitable, or like a lesson skipped is the lesson that awaits. I mean, I cannot say anything less general than that, because it really depends like what is the arc of a certain hero going on a journey of sorts. So yeah, let's keep with this.
Those little doubts that popped up when you watched the news, or that gut feeling that the story didn't add up, those weren't random thoughts. They were your inner compass pointing to truth. We've been taught since childhood to accept what we're told. School trained us to memorize rather than question. Media feeds us pre-packaged views rather than raw facts. The system rewards compliance and punishes independent thinking. But deep down, we all sense these invisible chains. The real truth is simple. We are born free. Not just legally free, but free in mind and spirit. No one has the right to control your thoughts, limit your potential, or force you down a path you didn't choose. Yet that's exactly what happens through subtle manipulation every single day. Look at how we live now. We wake up to alarm clocks, rush to jobs we often hate, buy things we don't need, watch shows that numb our minds, and go to bed exhausted, only to repeat it all again tomorrow. We're told this is normal, this is success, this is life. But is it really? The truth is that we have far more power than we've been led to believe. Our thoughts create our reality. Our focus shapes our experience. Our choices determine our path. But we've given this power away, bit by bit, until we forgot we ever had it. The good news is that this power never truly leaves us. It stays dormant, waiting to be reclaimed. And reclaiming it starts with one simple step: questioning everything. Not from a place of paranoia, but from a place of honest curiosity. Ask yourself, why do I believe what I believe? Who benefits from me believing this? What would change if I believed something different? These questions crack open the shell of illusion and let light stream in. As you start asking questions, you'll notice patterns. You'll see how fear is used to control behavior, how artificial scarcity creates competition, how distraction keeps us from looking.
Wait, let me recall, since I suppose if I were to put this somewhere for my friends to reach, just out of blue, like I just phase transition into this like last part of the video, but it just keeps going on. There is so many content of this sort. Let me come back for 10 seconds or something.
Artificial scarcity creates competition. How does...
Wait a second, let's figure out scarcity. I mean, I think it's something like spread, the state of being scarce, or in short supply, but it is in economics, it is the term. So this is still referring to materialistic side of life, I suppose. Yeah, see, I was trying symbolically to sort of depict a burnout. I mean, I didn't do it myself, I just kind of added my own interpretation on top of the basic Pokemon post, Charmander, since my name is sort of connected to something kindled, I suppose. So, yeah, and I honestly wonder what was being said there. What sort of artificial scarcity? Maybe I'm not like aligned now with that particular message, because let's come back to it once again. Like something is taken from us. I mean, I get it that it is trying to convey that, like, artificially, which would mean like it shouldn't supposed to be that way, and it's not for a explainable reason. That I mean, like, or rather, you know, defendable reason, whatever. But I would come back to this image again, because I'm very stuck at it, and it is conveying a certain binary kind of thing. And that is interesting, because even if this was narrated and just like a little, or to a degree, and then with the help of some digital thing enhanced, or rather like made quicker to arrive in public eye, with many different, like, I don't know, things that help it bootstrap itself as a content, like tags, and this visual imagery is pretty astonishing, even if it was made, maybe I'm too much dwelling into like artificial intelligence and all of that heady headspace of linguistically navigating things. It is a lot more technical, but at the same time cognitive. So yeah, well, so this thing, it kind of I think it is conveying a good aspect of what AI is trying to kind of show us here through this semi-spiritual I would say rifle, but not rifle in a sense of a gun, but more like a rifle of stars, but of meanings thrown at us from different angles, so that we don't escape the core transformational, almost like a value system, or like a value meme, to face transition from this sort of default materialistic that we're brought up in. And I would show this thing, even though I don't entirely subscribe to it, honestly. I would still show it, because I think it has some corporate theory of everything, corporate, like, taste to it. Like, it's trying to self-promote itself as a theory, which kind of literally kind of explains itself out, in a sense of like the person who was making it, he sort of theorizes about next stages of human evolution, but he himself seems to be stuck somewhere there in a capitalistic corporate culture. So he's definitely more logical and systemic, as it is presented here, connecting dots, trying to assess the machinery of like a clockwork universe. But then after it you jump to a more although maybe not too obvious from this creepy picture, but empathic and communal and collective. And this is also collective, but you see, I never paid attention here, but again, this black and white sort of represented, and it is sort of important because it is splitting the whole life into two facets, but it always has some other modality, like we have heaven or hell there, and we have, and maybe it could be shown as a cross as well, like this absolutistic fundamentalism. Like on the left side, if we even say in our maybe culture here in Nordic East Europe, like you stand up on a wrong feet, you stand up on the left feet, like left is wrong and the right is right. But like, yeah, so, and this before it is more like completely self-inflated and completely just self-empowering but domineering over others, conquering and domineering. And it sort of explains you in a rational sense why people are sort of just simply more driven by fear in those lower stages of development, and why life seems so cruel. It can sort of remotely explain it away in that sense. And this is again the collective, fear-driven, tribal sort of society which lives in sort of fog of war. But as a concept, we're not talking about necessary war, although it usually springs up eventually because some tribes just don't get along with different ones and they need somebody to stand up and kind of make initiative, which is too flexible of a word for what happens there, which is rather just an impulse to steal away their effort to survive. And the beige is just pure infantile survival without associating or anything. Here, why star? Probably because there is a huge unconscious connection with outer world, in a sense of, yeah, it is written here, animistic, exactly, or magical, but this like prehistoric mystical, in a sense of actually completely living in a magical world and believing that not that just spirits exist, but it is very important to actually enchant your, let's make it more sort of visual, and say like a totem of sorts for the ancestors usually. And the thing is, some things that is reduced away by science, sometimes it comes back to that point of like re-entertaining those ideas. What did those humans meant when they say, oh well, this is like this state, altered state of sort, is just reconnecting us, and it is meant to sort of commune with ancestors and ancestor spirits. Yeah, but it seems a little sad when it starts going through all of those like more and more hierarchical phases. How much those infantile wonder, but also uncertainty, gets lost and replaced by explainability and belief and dogma, but also like benefiting of individual and a need to put some people in front of other. This balance that sometimes even leads to xenophobia. So yeah. Let's talk a little bit more here and say that there is, when you assess and try to systematically represent, which is the outer tendency of yellow, which kind of is the first, second tier level here, which is like more comprehensive of life dynamics. Hence, this idea, coupled with emphasized importance of DNA, hence the spiral, but there is also this visual aspect to that, of like a staircase, of climbing this evolutionary ladder of noosphere, which is this like mental space, sort of philosophical word which stems from some Greek root, but as well as we mentioned entheogens, which is now where green usually mostly connects and reconnects with its ancient past through some initiatives of sorts in some exotic environment, like these, for example. People challenging themselves to kind of clean and detox through those like painful and unpleasant rituals of literal intoxication, because this is a body toxin that makes you kind of get a over-exaggerated hangover, then clean through the pores, through the diarrhea, through many of those unpleasant things, but then through that like losing of liquid body liquids and stuff, you sort of lose toxins as well, or maybe some hard metals that exactly got accumulated because people live in this like too empirical, too reductionistic, too materialistic society, post-industrial age into the informational age. But yeah, I think from yellow point of view, things start to get a little quantum. An idea of some sort of quantum leap emerges of sorts. Even the term emerging probably stems from that unlocking of like more objective and more distilled perception of life. But it's just the beginning, where Orange starts to wander and gets out of its narrow view of just getting ahead in life. Hence the achievement is here usually a key word coupled with some ambition of sorts, autonomy as well, and strive, drive. So it judges less certain things, certainly. Like, it judges less, and each time we climb, we get a little less of focus on some taboo obsessions, and sometimes even use them to cause strategic, quote-unquote strategic, unrest, I would say, like a social one, but I want to say something more precise, in a sense of like to challenge whatever was previously the case. But it sort of need to have a little forgetfulness of where it was, because it needs to claim its own territory. Hence, in this theory, at least, which was stacked upon some other psychological developmental theories or models. His first tier, yeah. In this, like, again, very emotionally absent, just like placing things in like such a almost mathematical sort of way, still like embracing hierarchies but not being too stuck on like preference, rather than sort of just observing through polls, through many statistics, and so and so and so and so. I'm definitely noticed this a lot. I'm definitely dwelling more into this a lot more, and I sometimes get the inkling of mentioning the idea of integration, but still, like, the point is that life will not just give itself on a plate. Especially when you access some states, you need to sort of work even harder to sort of compensate for it. And yeah, I would come back, since I'm caffeinated to an nth degree throughout this whole period of life. I don't resist it, but I feel sometimes it dulls a bit of expression, and I would say weed helps me a lot to kind of compensate and fluidify certain rigid constructs that start just forming after being too like stuck on the idea that I must like beat myself up to a certain standard and etc. Yeah, there is a huge interplay there of different forces and tendencies and goals and motivations, and even like wish to abandon the outpost and sometimes just wish to like ease up and not care less, to not be so obsessed about having more, but like we have so bare bone, and at the same time I have sort of surplus of something which I cannot like dissipate into the society and give it back, because almost nobody wants it, or like it's not meant for me to rely on what was a leftover from my parents, etc. So for a reason, I have my ways of getting lost into this samsaric field of getting too attached to, I don't know, some ideals and many other things, like some basic reward. But gratefully I have surpassed the need to, as I mentioned in much more previous contents that I sort of shared over this personal YouTube channel. In a sense of being wrapped in a cage and whatever, I still have some basic pleasuring mechanisms that are going on in between, and all honestly causing me a little bit of I would say chronic fatigue. That's why I feel less expression, even though there is some part of me which would like to act more on it and act as such, like some scene. But let's go back to this video, and then I will sort of come back to a binary point which I wanted to convey and how I feel about it. Because I feel like if it's not even if it's a human, entirely organic and less like a ghost in a machine, less like a something generated, I suppose, it's still nonetheless the same reflection. But I think print era, and this is what Marshal McLuhan was conveying that print era, it is its fault, and media as such, but especially the print, linear print, so-called. He was maybe misquoted, but it was his best. It was one of his good friends that sort of say medium is the message, or maybe he said that, but there's another quote which is more generic, which says like, environment shape us and we shape environment back, or something. A point of view can be a dangerous luxury. I like the word luxury, and I will give you some freaking archetype there to work with, but I'm not sure if it will ring any bell, honestly, because, you know, oh well, Four of Cups is still sort of lethargic of sorts, but getting some idea. And I always wondered in the beginning, when I was more looking into a visual representation of this, did it mean like it's usually written listlessness, or did it mean like, ooh, I'm getting some, I don't know, airy-fairy idea here. I already have something stacked up, but something less expected is coming my way, but I'm not moving, you know. But when I'm staying still, it is sort of being offered. But here, it has this structural aspect to it, which is, ooh, why did I click? Sure. Oh my goodness, a little bit too complicated, but okay, boredom, dissatisfaction. Sure, let's follow that basic meaning. Perhaps we're too familiar with our environment. But sometimes I feel when you see luxury, it is luxury for us to do something. It's like we can, but we should not. We surely can. We surely can eat another bar of chocolate. But the question is, we don't usually recognize that we should not beat ourselves up as well, that there's other aspect to that. Surely, as it can also be a drag, but waning mood, like it's dissipating, you know. But I'm not sure, it could be just a general thing. in a position which has some specific astrological downpinnings and not like a term as such. It's interesting that it seems negative either upright or not. Sinking temporary pressure, escape of feeling discontent, reminds us to release what we do have and to appreciate it more as others may be in a worse situation. Yeah, especially that uncontent, like, we have it, we have so many beers, but let's drink them up because, life is fucking dull. But no. We're missing the mark there. We're missing elephant in the room when we sort of blatantly and mindlessly seem to just give away into that temptation.
Distraction keeps us from looking too closely at what really matters. The pieces start fitting together. But here's what they don't want you to know. Awakening isn't just about seeing what's wrong, it's about recognizing what's possible. When you break free from mental chains, you tap into creativity you didn't know you had. You find strength you forgot existed. You rediscover your true self. This awakening comes with responsibility. Once you see the truth, you can't go back to sleep. You become responsible for your own growth, your own choices, your own path. No more following blindly, no more accepting without questioning. Some people will resist your awakening. They'll call you crazy, tell you to stay in line, try to pull you back into the old patterns. This is normal. Change makes people uncomfortable, especially when it challenges their own beliefs. Stand firm in your truth.
Have that big time.
Not with anger or judgment, but with calm certainty. The truth doesn't need defending. It simply is. Your role isn't to convince others, but to live authentically and let your example speak for itself.
That's so hard of a... I don't know what to call it, honestly. Nothing can capture it, but let's say some simplistic thing as like black pill. Such a hard pill to swallow. Such a hard black pill to swallow. To distinguish or differentiate between living authentically, whatever that may mean for you, and just trying to convince others to be like a convert of sort that saw something and now needs to spread, but it's usually not welcome. So I mean, I don't actually support this entirely, because I think this is just a energetic shift and like a crossroad, important, especially when you're sort of younger, but then it's more destabilizing. Then it's more like at any point, like whatever young means. I mean, you can be too young even at like midlife, as we say in soul. So it doesn't matter, but, and I would not even say anything better or worse. It just is the case, the lesson is being delivered and it's too outlandish, it's too expansive, it's too expensive on whatever you were invested in, and it sometimes give you false impressions that you should like just change the course of your life entirely, which could happen or could happen to a degree, or sometimes if you resist it, it would not happen and recontextualize itself, and I don't know, some things would stay, as it was said, dormant, but some patterns would still go, but some things to, I don't know, be less sort of conditioned by even tools that you use, digital usually, but at the same time then you feel like you have a bottle of some creative self inside of you, like intuitive part, and you may even start to distinguish some arbitrary notions, like you have different brain parts of a more logical type, which is more obvious and more emphasized, or maybe rewarded, but still that depends too, because there's too many fishes in the pond, right? So some balance could be strike there, and maybe you don't even need to follow the crowd of, you know, it is thrown into your face like it's important, but by that sheer fact it kind of can hint you that yeah, it is thrown into your face, you didn't have a choice, you know, like for example even using like a Windows system, or I mean many of those things, like developing into this digital, like you are more limited to become a nomad, you really need to fight for that, I don't know. So there is even this funky term, digital nomad, whatever that represents. Honestly, I have no clue, but let's try to see. Maybe it has physical to do with something? Yeah, with location rather. Travel freely while working remotely, you know, that's a new thing that's sort of unlocked. I mean, people were merchants or travelers, but actually I was glad that some close person called me that, and he even said like we were in a angelic or like you know, garden or something. It was cute. Leverage, I forgot what that term means, but let's come back to the definition. Okay, sure. That's a lot of leverage to get you to do what he wants. Okay, let's get out of this like too personal and come back to this part.
Start small. Question one belief today. Change
Where it is like, I don't know, getting receptive to sort of unlock some parts that were like closed off, because they just simply are, but at the same time like doesn't need to be defined too much. Sometimes even like shutting down this default mode network, and as scientists say, and just like tapping into not exactly lizard brain, but you can say it and just like be like do like a Mark Zuckerberg like meta or something, you know. I'm just sort of making a pun here, but there is this as well, yeah. Asana flow paired with mental grounding, you know. Okay, sure. It is a lot popular these days, but also, I mean, good old word called especially when we read like Jungian psychology and dwell into those like terms and conceptual boxes such as archetypes. frameworks. Modal metaphysics. Necessary. Oof, it's very like heavy in a sense of like you then need to come back. Look, why is it trying to convey what possible or necessary statements about what? Modal neologism. In philosophy mathematics, logicism is a programming comprising one or more of the theses that for the some coherent meaning of logic, mathematics is an extension of logic. Some or all the mathematics is reducible to logic, or some or all mathematics may be modeled in logic. Logicism describes a range of views considered by the proponent to be successor of the original logicist program. More narrowly, neologicism may be seen as an attempt to salvage some or all elements of Frege's programming through the use of modified version of Frege's system in the Grundgesetze, which may be seen as a kind of second-order logic. Basic Law 5 meta theorem that states that the Peano axioms of arithmetic can be derived in second order logic from Hume's principle. So many references. It was first proven informally by Frege in arithmetic. I don't know the rest of German, so I will just stick with that term. Proven more formally in 1893. God damn it. Axiom schema of unrestricted comprehension. Axiom schema. Venn diagrams, what the heck. Logical relation between sets, but like, ugh, I'm out of this freaking discipline, so I cannot sort of get a good idea other than like, I really certainly combining some theorems. It's not just numbers, it's like, I don't know, like used for integers and whatnot. So specific, like when you say naive, it has nothing to do with human naivete in a more anthropological sense, but something entirely like abstracted away. And depending on what it's even focusing on, set. Again, set of something like numbers. Okay, let's retrace our freaking steps. Because I'm getting a lot tired, and it was interesting to try dwelling into that, but there's such a mix of different disciplines there. Some pseudo, some less pseudo scientific. So yeah, I will leave it there to wonder. Let's finish the video.
Change one habit tomorrow. Take one step toward authenticity next week. Small steps add up to major shifts over time.
It just shows you
the key is consistency,
how
not speed.
many directions are there for people to explore, or let's just say in this mathematical sense, sub-explore. Yeah. It doesn't need to be their primary core, like function in society and life. It can aid. It can aid to expand their POE and sort of add to that mishmash, even if it's more creative on a full-blown creative side, as sometimes in my example, or some mix of those things, like making visual inside of a digital, some entertaining of logical key phrases and stuff does not hurt, you know, despite some lack of formal education on that front. For example, yeah, I have a love for pharmacology, even things related to diet, and looking from even that like perspective. There's a lot of things to worry about, pesticides, blah blah blah, and how we can optimize, but also there's that other side, maybe a more feminine side, which it says just drop your worry, you know, despite all of those inconsistencies and things that plague us, we're such a like collected, encapsulated, you know, beings of sort that can survive under many harsh circumstances, even radiation, for God's sake. Thrive and thrive. So worrying seems more counterproductive than actually even in replacing those inconsistencies, even in like, but again, there is a lot of unfairness going on, and people who are more sensitive to that have a harder time escaping the particular one, while people who, as we can usually say, don't think much, they just do it, and there is less dissipated energy, less more conserved to expanding even more of those goals. Like, for example, buying in bio organic shop because it's better for their skin or something. They will just, you know, strive for that. Well, we will say like, why the people inside of this system cannot get access to that either for free, or why such a distinction where you have like a naturally treated food that ends up cheaper on the shelf, and it seems like a privilege, something that was supposed to be normal in early times. Yeah, many of the effed up things going on, but that we can only like entertain, but we cannot confirm it for ourselves. Always, we can just like get all misanthropic about it, and unfortunately, then we again can sort of disempower ourselves. But at the same time, there is this thing called So, and I wonder how in a third world country a regimen that places emphasis on seasonal fruits, one has no sugar problems. If one has no sugar problems. Sattva. Rajas and Tamas. I heard about it, and some people are even called like that. Sattva is that, but I forgot. Rajas and Tamas are some. I actually do wonder. Lethargy and rigidity, yeah. And Raja's tendency toward ambition and activity. Sattva, selfless service, amazing. That's like a compensation, respectively. Satisfaction with life and perceived stress are important in determines one's quality of life. In Hinduism, for Rama, not Raja or Tama, but Rama, God, let's see. Yeah, it is depicted in different ways, but Hanuman is like a god that serves Rama. So he literally loved him so much that he rips his chest open for Rama and somebody else, some woman. I mean, I don't know enough, but I know that it is a god of martial arts, but also servitude. I mean, we can Ramayana. His wife is Sita. Rama and Sita. I would not recall that, but he's very devoted and he likes to defend, but at the same time bow as a very devoted servant. So, I mean, it's not some entire thing to aspire to, but it can give you kind of a contrast to culture. Put thing on a pedestal and stuff. So yeah, let's go.
Your awakening might feel lonely at first, but as you continue on this path, you'll find others who see what you see. People who question what you question. Souls who seek what you seek. These connections will come naturally at the right time. Remember this. Awakening isn't a destination. It's an ongoing process. Each day brings new insights, new questions, new opportunities to choose truth over illusion. Some days will feel harder than others. That's okay.
Energetic.
Progress isn't always linear. The most beautiful part of awakening is what it reveals about human potential. We are not limited beings meant to live small lives. We are powerful creators, capable of shaping reality itself. This truth has been hidden from us because it threatens those who profit from our sleep. Now is the time to wake up.
Again, sleep in contrast to waking up to truths in a plural sense, but there is also this monistic sense, and what I wanted to say as well is through Neoplatonism and like a backbone of other religion. It almost feels like a kernel or like operating system. But yeah. Fruit stone contained within its shell. Fruit stone. Oh yeah, central part. Okay. Yeah, but after monism and the contrast with the pluralism, nous. Oh yeah, nous. Even like French word for nous means actually like just multiple, just we in English, like. So it's so fascinating that it was so early, or I don't know if it was represented this way in those early ages. They probably tried something, hence those names. This monad, I think it was called like that. It was like a distilled mathematical god, which was like just the thing in itself without any description. So things just sprung in different parts of the world. But I think I should leave it sort of here and let the subject sort of immerse himself in the fusion of those potent and juicy topics. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's too late and I'm lacking proper sleep, so I will leave it here and let someone wonder what does all of this represent for him. So yeah, 1 hour and 11 minutes, I guess it's the best way to leave the outpost just about now.